Now, how do we translate this into a statistical symbol? So autoregressive integrated moving average. AR is P. Integration is D, and MA is Q. So how do we measure this one? How do we run this in statistics? P is basically represented by the autocorrelation function. Okay, I'll explain to you later what autocorrelation function is. D is the number of times of differencing. That means how many times di mo make the time series stationary. And then moving average, MA is partial autocorrelation. Okay, so yan ang mga gagawin nating steps for us to do the ARIMA modeling, no, in gretl. So what we do now is let's start first with knowing whether or not the series is different. Okay, knowing whether the series is stationary. So there are two approaches for that, one graphical and econometric, statistical. At first, ano ang gagawin natin? Ika-graph muna natin siya. So as you can see here in the graph, medyo na may mga specific events na nag-increase siya, tapos hagsa na po siya, something like that. Now, if suffice to say, a graphical approach tells us na medyo may specific tayo, no? May mga specific tayo na events here that makes it volatile. So that means na pwede nating i-establish, ang goal natin sa knowing whether the series is stationary is to determine the D. Determining the D is the number of times that you make this stable. So how do we establish a stable time series? First is we need to compute whether or not this is significant using the augmented Dickey-Fuller test. The augmented Dickey-Fuller test is a statistical analysis of time series which aims to determine whether the time series data that you have is stationary or not. So ang rule of thumb natin, kapag ang value ng augmented Dickey-Fuller test has a p-value of less than 0.05, that means it's already stationary in itself. But if in case we found out that the data set in its level is not significant, that means that it is not stationary, and we need to make it stationary for us to determine the D, okay, or for us to proceed to the actual steps. So what we need to do, sundan natin, no? So I would want you to follow me on what I do here. What we need to do is to establish whether volume is stationary. So we will go to model. We go to variable, and then we will proceed to unit root test. The unit root test allows us to determine how many unit roots or how many D or differencing are we going to do to make the series stable. So what we need to do is go to unit root test and then go to augmented Dickey-Fuller test. That's the most common, basically. And then just follow the default, use level of variable. That means you're going to you're just going to use the raw data, just follow it. The logs are predetermined, so basically it's just fine. Click OK. So here's the result. Titingnan natin ang test with constant and tsaka test with constant and trend. So ano ang titingnan natin dito? Check the p-value of your test statistic or your tau statistic. As you can see, is the p-value significant or not significant? Is it greater than 0.05 or less than 0.05? Jonathan, is it greater than or less than 0.05? Tingnan natin ang p-value. Ang p-value should be less than 0.05 for us to say that it's significant, that it's stationary. Do you think this is stationary or not? So,
Not, Doc, not.
not. This is actually less than. Because it's 4.403 times 10 to the negative 24th power. That means, how many 4.403 man. So that means you move to the left from the period 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 23 zeros before 4. That's 0.00000004403. That's the value of the P. Because it is exponent, no? Negative 24 man. That means the P value of this time series is significant. And that means that our stock market data here is unfortunately stationary. Bakit siya stationary? Because kung wag mong tingnan dito, wag mo siyang tingnan in this particular increase of values, titingnan mo generally ang behavior niya. So kung tutuusin, at this particular level, stationary naman siya, except for these ones. So that means that our D here, because significant naman, we found that the ADF test has a p-value less than 0.05. Hence, the time series is stationary at 11. Ilang nag-differencing ba tayo, class, or wala tayong ginawang differencing? Ano ba ang ibig sabihin ng differencing, sir? That means that we're going to transform this by differencing it. Mag-minus taan. I'm not so sure kung kalimot ko kung saan i-minus ani sa imong value. But when you difference it, it's basically doing something like this. When you go to volume and you go to when you go to add, you would say you would take first difference. When you do your first difference, that means that this is not already the value that you have seen kanina, but this is already transformed into something. When you plot that difference data, it should look like that. So na-transform na siya. Nag-difference ba tayo? Kailangan ba nating mag-difference? Wala tayong ginawang differencing because at its level, at its own, significant naman siya. But if in case class na hindi significant ang ating augmented Dickey-Fuller test kanina, kailangan nating mag-differencing, and the difference values should be recalculated with ADF test. Tanaw nato kung ang ilang p-value is nag-significant ba. Kung nag-significant class, that means nakaisa ka nag-differencing, and that means that your D equals 1. But then, wala tayong ginawang differencing because stationary naman at level ang ating series, hence D equals 0. Because wala tayong ginawang differencing. Nag-run lang kong difference test karon o nag-differencing lang ko because I want you to know how it's done. But nevertheless, since this one is futile, wala naman talaga tayong wala tayong ginawang differencing, that means at its own level, this particular time series does not need differencing for you to do the forecasting. So that means we have established the value of the D. So D equals 0. Next one is to determine the P. And third one is determine the Q. Sabay yan. So that means that you're going to determine which particular lag does the P decay, and then which particular lag does the Q decay based on graphical and statistical analysis. Ibig sabihin, we will manually determine the value of the P and the Q, which is the autocorrelation function and the partial autocorrelation function respectively, which respectively represents the AR term and the NR. Okay, so how do you do that? So how do we determine it? Since natapos na natin hindi tayo nag-differencing, tapos na natin na-determine ang D, you go to correlogram. Just the default, click OK, and there you have it. So, sir, paano natin ma-determine ang partial autocorrelation at saka ang correlation function? So, as you can see here, class, dalawa ang lumabas, graphical at saka statistical results. No? So, graphical, ang pinakauna nga time nga nilampas ang imuhang graph, ang bar, is muna siya ang imuhang kung asa siya pinakauna nga nag-significant, not significant sa sunod, muna siya imong basis for the determination of your value of your ACF and PACF. So what if tanan sila naglampas? So kung kini silang first 5 naglampas, ang ika-6 wala, then that means ang imong ACF value is 5 because diha ra siya tapan significant. But in this case, it's only in log 1 na nag-significant si ACF. Kasi siya, kung tanawin mo sa graph, nilampas siya sa red line. Pag abot sa log 2, wala siya nilampas up until 3. Wala din siya nilampas up until 17. Pero sa 17, wala naman nilampas sa pulag yun. Ang nilampas yun is si log number 1. So that means, based on this, asterisk sa log 1, wala man yung asterisk ang following diri, and based on this na nilampas siya sa red, our P equals, kailan man? 1. Because it is in log 1 nga nag-significant siya. P less than 0.2. In the same way, ang partial autocorrelation function, which is representing Q or the moving average terms, would also require you to determine saang log siya nag-start of decay or nag-stop siya sa pagiging nag-start siya sa pagiging significant. In this case, it's also in log 1. Kaya pag abot sa log 2, non-significant na siya. So in this case, we have established that P equals 1, Q equals 1. So that means your model could be ARIMA 101. Oh, nanatay ARIMA model, ARIMA 101 na ato ang gibuhat karon. Where is the forecasting in this sense? So since you're going to report all of this, no, pila ang P, pila ang D, pila ang Q, so you're going to basically illustrate all of this. Now we're going to do the actual ARIMA model. So since na-establish na to kung nag-differencing ba ta, wala, pila atang P, 1, pila atang Q, 1. So ready na ta mag-modeling. So you go to your volume, which is the data that you're going to forecast. You go to model, and you go to univariate time series, and you go to ARIMA. Then you do the specification procedure. Isunod na to si volume as your dependent variable. And then, seasonal ba o non-seasonal lang ating time series? So, we'll just assume the default one, which is the non-seasonal ARIMA. And then we will establish this as AR1, integration 0, 1, and 1 MA. So, P is 1, D is 0, Q is 1. So, after that, naka-default naman si 101, click lang ta o okay. Now, here is the result of your ARIMA model. So your ARIMA model reveals that your time series is not autoregressive and it's not moving average. Saan mo yan makikita? If your phi value is not significant, then that means your time series is not autoregressive or does not exhibit autoregressive properties. If in case your theta here is not significant, then that means that your time series data is also not following a moving average term. So in that case, the time series data that we are estimating now does not exhibit autoregressive and moving average terms. In that case, you are careful in the forecasting and saying that the time series data is autoregressive or moving average. Despite the fact that you are using ARIMA, we reveal here that it's not exhibiting these properties. So futile ka. Actually, actually futile ang mag-forecast at this ARIMA 101. But basically, let's just assume that either of the, let's just assume na significant, or let's just assume that we were able to determine what specific terms, what specific AR term and ME term siya significant. Let's say that we will proceed with the forecasting nevertheless. How do we do the forecasting class? So since naana pa diri sa imong ARIMA model, na-discover nimo siya na dili siya autoregressive, dili siya moving average, pwede ba ta mag-proceed with forecasting? Pwede, but you have to be careful in your analysis because dili ka pwede maka-claim na autoregressive siya or moving average siya. However, let's just do the forecasting for the sake of illustration. Where are we going to do the forecasting? Forecasting is in the analysis. Analysis, click forecast. Wala naman. Okay. So it would give you this one. There are no observations available for forecasting out of sample. You add some observations now if you wish. Let's say this is daily time series. I want to know as a stock market trader kung unsa ang next 5 working days na value sa stock market. Let's say 5. Click OK. Tapos, what I'm going to do is I would, well, naka-define na no that you would be forecasting the time series, the data of the stock market from May 9 to May 15. Kasi May 8 ang last ano ng work. Okay? I'm sorry. It's not May 9. May 15. Sorry. May 15 ang start. Sorry. May 8 na lang. Tapos, naka-default ang automatic forecast. Pag human number of observations to graph is 100, I will select shaded area and I would click. So this is now your graph for your forecast. So anong ibig sabihin nito? Kining green is your actual stock market data. Itong orange is based on your ARIMA model 101. This is the forecasted data. So kung tanaw na to, ako rin din i-copy dito. So copy to click.
Doc, sorry to interrupt. Saan yung forecast Doc? Saan galing? Yung forecast menu?
Yung menu
sorry,
mo.
Doc, but I lost track.
Sige, iba nagranta ganina o ARIMA, kini siya?
Yeah.
Ika sa analysis, forecast.
Analysis. Nandiyan pala, Doc. Okay, thank you, Doc. Yun lang po.
Sige, so, I will maximize this one. Tanaw na to. Kasi ang forecast is not just the future values. It would also give you the forecast in ang forecast unta sa previous data based on this particular model. So, titingnan natin here that the shaded area is your future values. Your volume here is the actual stock market performance, and the forecast is should have been the performance of your stock market following ARIMA 101. So ngayon, tingnan natin, as you can see here, grabe ang pag-increase ni stock market in this particular date, which is also predicted na increase with unta siya. Pero not as dramatic as this one. No? So, makita ninyo mataas kayo yung gilukso, di man taas kayo ang gilukso sa forecast. Mag-forecast code, dili dapita, di kayo taas ang lukso, taas kayo ang gilukso. So, I mean, these are stochastic errors to begin with. There are specific events siguro that lead to the rapid increase in the stock market, something like that. Now, an indication that your stock market is very close to the reality is that when your forecast tends to overlap your actual data. Kung ganing nagsabay gud gani siya kanang halos mo fit in na gud siya based on your modeling. Now, because of the kuan gani kana ganing taas nga variance or disparity sa actual value with the forecast, ang imo pong forecast for the next 5 days is this particular values. So anong ibig sabihin ng shaded area na ito ng forecast mo? It could be your forecasted value for stock market volume is only this, but it could be higher than that, but up until this only, or it could lower than that and up to this level only. Sir, asa ba kumabalaan ang values ana? Ang values mabalaan na nimo siya sa dili dapita sa imong forecast. Siya ihatag sa imong na output. Now, remember that we are forecasting for the next 5 days and this is it. So, ano ba ang forecast value? Ano ba ang specific na kuan? Ano ba ang specific na volumes na i-forecast for the next 5 days? It's 124,662, then 132,668, and 136,405, 138,150, and 138,964. But they could be lower than those values. Those values could be lower. No? It could be 115,933 lang, but it could be higher than that. It could be 365,257. So these are the confidence intervals. The confidence intervals would be the ranges of your predictions. Well, you predicted this one, but then the ranges could be this. You have predicted this one, but it could be lower than that. This would be the value, or this would be the value. It is predicted to be something like this, but it is lower than that, which is this value, and this is the highest value. So the real forecast is not this 5-day forecast here, not this alone, but it also includes your 5-day confidence intervals. Yun ang itong 95% confidence interval, ito yung ranges ng values ng stock predictions mo, which is basically this shaded area. It could be higher than that, or it could be lower than that, na walay i-trade. Napay volume loss, napay traded loss, napay no trading, o napay shortfall sa trading na about negative man eh. So, dili siya additional volume na i-trade, kundi mao ni ang loss kanang shortfall sa inyong trading. So, it could be maximum of 365,257 volume sa stock market na i-trade. It could be lower than that, or it can be a shortfall of your trading by 115,930. So, how do we determine the fitness of the ARIMA model in gretl? So, ang fitness natin is naka-indicate sa mismong ARIMA output. Of course, you're going to report the AIC and the SIC. So, akay criterion, sir, ano ba ang magiging basis natin to determine whether this ARIMA model is really true? So, of course, ARIMA 101 was proven na hindi siya significant, hindi siya autoregressive, hindi siya moving average. What if maghimo tag simulation? What if you will try ARIMA 111? We'll try ARIMA 110. We'll try ARIMA 011. And we will try ARIMA, simulation ka ba? 010. Of all the possible ARIMA models, you're going to report the goodness of fit of this by reporting the values of the Squar's information criterion, Akaite information criterion, and the Hanan-Quinn criterion. So kung asa ang pinakagamay nga values nila, then that means that would be the possible ARIMA model that basically explains your series. So you're going to report, ang rule of thumb ani is the least, the best. The least values of this one, that means the best. So since nakita nato nga si 101, so may value niya sa iyang squares. Copy na siya. Tapos, ang iyahang Akaite. And then, ang iyang Hanan-Quinn. So na ba R square o adjusted R square si Arima? Naa, pero di gid siya mag-matter. Kaya kung tanaw nimo o ang R square niya is 0.02, 0.01 seconds. Kamay ka. Ngayon, i-try natin si Arima 111. Remember, nag-forecasting pa ganina, nakaderive ka nga forecast using Arima 101. What about if we're going to establish another Arima? So let's go to model, and then univariate time series, Arima, and then we'll follow the second model, 111. Okay, Arima 111. And then click OK. You must select a dependent variable. So, salo natin si volume, click. So, as you can see here, if we difference our series once, kasi nag-differencing ta, ang atong D karon is, ang atong integration value is 1. When we difference the series once, what happened to the time series data? It exhibits a moving average term. Bakit siya moving average term? Because the value of your theta is significant. That means that when you difference your series, it's not autoregressive still, but now it became MA term, moving average terms. It exhibits moving average terms. And do you think that's okay? That's actually okay, no? Considering that you can now determine that the behavior of the series is on a moving average terms. Now, after you determine it, again, tanaw nimo ang value sa SIC, it's 6489.6. Tanaw na to kung kuan ba siya, kanang mas gamay ba siya, mas dako. It's smaller, no? Kung titingnan natin, smaller than the Arima 101. This one is also smaller. So, I expect that this particular Arima model is better in forecasting compared to the Arima 101. Kaya mas smaller siya o SIC, AIC, o Hanan Queen criterion. So that means, okay, tapos na ito nag-Arima 111, mag-forecasting na ta. Analysis, forecast, okay, we just click okay, and here we go. So as you can see here, mauna ni siya ang atuang, ay bati, ganong error bars ni ganun. So, analysis, forecast, shaded area, click OK. So, eto na ang ating graph for Arima 111. Now, it's giving us this particular forecast values here sa baba. Ayan. So, eto na yung forecast niya, 92,548, 95,539, 95,000. Mauna ni siya ang stabilized values sa inyong series because we did the differencing already. But then, ang forecast na niya is mas nilapad ang iyang error, no? So, 149,000, or mong gihapon, pero mas nilako ang iyang variance kay 149,189 ang iyang shortfall sa trading. Dako pod ang iyang overtrading, which is 244,286. But nevertheless, as you can see in the graph, it looks almost the same as with Arima 101, but it gives us a better fit because the AIC, SIC, and HQC is smaller a little bit compared to 101. Now, let's try Arima 110. So, daghan di kag-iran nga Arima, sir, if in case mag-unsa ka? Yes, because we're determining here which is a better fit. So, let's go again to model, and then, ito, 110. Univariate time series. Basta nang i-off ko. Okay, so I'll go with model, univariate time series, Arima, and then 110. So, or kuha na lang usa, 011. Ano na lang. Okay, masigurado man taan eh. Kini siya is 1110. So 0, 1, 1 kasi difference tapos moving average. So 0, 1, 1. Volume ang atong dependent variable. So, model. Vary time series, arima. Tama lagi. So, non-autoregressive 0. So, wala siya regressor. So, 0, 1, 1. So, moving average. Something like that. And then click OK. So, MA terms lang ang iyang ipakita sa inyong mga regressor. It's still significant. And then, let's try to do the forecasting. Shaded area. Click OK. So, kini ang iyang ihatag sa imo ha. Mag-report ka sa karon sa iyahang squares. And then, key. So, it's also smaller, no? By eliminating the autoregressive term as a regressor, it gives you a better fit. Which is slightly smaller than ARIMA 111. Now, let's try ARIMA 110. Univariate 110. Before click, okay. So when you remove also the moving average terms, when you difference it to ones and you remove the moving average term, the series is autoregressive also. Alone or when trying an autoregressive term at first difference without considering the moving average terms, the time series graph or the data is exhibiting autoregressive function because of the significant p-value here of your find. After that, you report the Akaiki criterion here. And then the Hanan Queen. And then the squats. So again, when you do your forecasting, you go to analysis, forecast, and then shaded area, and then okay, so this one will be the forecasted values. And napakalaki ng error, tingnan mo. Napaka-ma-spread siya. Pero yung series mo looks to me that it's joining, it's almost in sync with your original data. So ito yung pinaka as an autoregressive time series data set ang imong forecast, it almost fitted with the actual value, which means that alone, hindi pwede na i-establish nimo ang series as both autoregressive and moving average. You just have to establish them alone as an autoregressive term and a moving average term when you difference it once, because nakita nato na mas performing siya when you difference it. Karon, ano ang basis for the fitness of your ARIMA model? So this is your answer. Saan dyan ang may pinakamaliit na SIC at saka AIC at saka HQC? Titingnan natin 6511, 6489, 6486, 6564. Ang pinakataas og error o pinakataas og kuan values is this one. So basically, this is the least fitted. And this is also the most autoregressive. So, asa man ang pinakagamay? Ang pinakagamay is ARIMA 011 because this is 6.486, 64, but in AIC, ang pinakagamay is ARIMA 111. Ang pinakagamay o HQC is in ARIMA 011. So, the best ARIMA model is this one. And the worst, okay? So, sir, asa man ang forecast ato? Balikan natin ulit ang forecast. The forecast values that you're going to do is right here. So, This one, the first column is the actual raw data. This is the prediction based on the ARIMA model. This is the predicted 5-day value or five-day step ahead in forecast. This is the error. And these last two columns are your lower bound and upper bound statistics. And when you graph these ranges, this is the ranges. These are the ranges of values. Now, as you can see through time, nagkataas ang iyang difference, nagkataas ang iyang point-to-point na difference. Taas ang iyang variance because, as I mentioned kanina, the days the forecasted values away from the last real value is the most uncertain or is the most unreliable value. It's always the values proximal to the last value ang pinaka-reliable, which is the day after the final data set. This one, and this one. So pinaka-unreliable is this one, which is proven sa dako kayo niya nga spread sa iyahang confidence intervals. Lagyo kayo siya og diferensya compared to the difference of this one, which is from this and from that. Okay, so again, paano natin i-perform ang ARIMA? Dito yung steps natin. So knowing whether the series is stationary, and you will determine the D in terms of looking for the augmented Dickey-Fuller test. Okay, the rule of thumb is that ADF should be significant for you to say that data could be stationary or stabilized. Now, when you determine the number of differencing, or when you determine the value of your D, then that's the time that you're going to establish the P and the Q using the correlogram statistics. Correlogram gives you the ACF and PACF values, which represents the P and the Q, the autocorrelation and the partial autocorrelation function. Now, when you determine now the ARIMAs, the specific ARIMA that would best explains your prediction, don't forget to do some scenario building as well. No? So that means na pwede ka mag-interchange, pwede ka mag-establish sa possibilities na autoregressive siya, moving average siya, both autoregressive and moving average, walang differencing, may differencing, so that you can get the optimal values of SIC, AIC, and HQC. You get the best values by determining the lowest among them, and then you would make use of that. You would conclude that this could be the best model that represents your time series data. So, meron tayong questions here.
Doc, hello.
Yes.
Doc, I'm sorry, Doc, pero parang gusto kong magbalik sa pinakauna, Doc. How did you set na the data should be in time series? Kaya I recall sa Excel mo, Doc, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Correct. Okay, kadto nakuan to nimo na na nakaligtaan to nimo, sige. So ang buhaton,
Yes, Doc. Sorry, Doc, ha. Ulit ito, Doc. Sorry.
Sige lang, kay kamo man ang mag-lunch. No, sige, no lang natin ito. No. Okay, so first is, di ba naka 1, 2, 3 man to siya. Now, katong ako ang setting sa Excel ganina is cross-sectional to siya. Although na siya time series na property, i-detect na ni gretl kung kini nga specific column is time ba ni siya. So, you go to file and then you open data and then you find that specific unsa file and then mo prompt na si gretl sa imuha. Ingon na siya nga cross-sectional man na undated ang imuhang time kasi 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months siya. So, wala siya petsa. It would ask you, do you want to give the data at time series or panel interpretation? Yes, because what we have here is a time series data, diba? So, I would click yes to this, and I would click time series, and then forward, and then you would now define your dates. That's why you need to identify whether your data is annual, quarterly, monthly. Ang ako ang gigamit diri is daily time series man. Remember, gitanggal na nato ang null value, so maybe there would be a difference of the dates. So, wala na ito yung mabuhat anak, kay dapat naaman tayo evenness manggod sa atong time horizons. So, since trading happens Monday to Friday, I'll click daily, 5 days, and then forward, and then iset nimo ang time. Okay, so monthly siya.
Okay. Na-know din ako tong una na ko, Doc. Say yes.
2 and then 05 and then it's 27. Forward. So maghatag siya sa imuha og confirm dataset structure. No? Daily 5 days from May 27, 2022 to May 8, 2023. So if in case you're good, click apply. Okay? So mawala na ang time. Ngano mawala ang time? Because it is eliminated once you give a time series interpretation of your data. And that time horizon is already here sa baba. Kining daily 5 days, full range, 2022, May 27 to May 8, 2023. So ang mabilin is only your volume, which is your second column. Okay na tayo?
Thanks, Doc.
Okay, so any other questions on the ARIMA? Sir, nganong ARIMA? Unang-una, ARIMA is one of the most basic na forecasting, univariate forecasting na nasa higher level. Kasi kung magbalik taad tong mga moving average, katong mga, katugong mag-forecasting ka o pareha atong mga petsa, aning moving average. Kung moving average ka class, let's say, moving average 3, MA3. That means, ang imong buhaton, i-average nimo ang 3, sa 4, kung gusto nimo may bawa ng, kung moving average ka, MA3, i-average nimo ang kini para makuha nimo ang 4th month. Na i-drag na nimo siya. Pareani. So, kung saan ni siya, average of this one, and then average of that one, and average of that one. So, kana siya, kini ang aning mga approaches, kanang exponential smoothing, katong mga basic gid kay sa katanan, ng mga simple moving average, weighted moving average, something like that. Kung may kag weighted moving average po, WMA, maghatag ka og prioritization. Let's say, the last value is 50%. Plus, the second to the last value is 30%. Plus, the first value is 20%. Because, of course, ang imong assumption is you give weight to the latest, something like that. Ang imuhang buhaton, no? Which is a little bit very descriptive to me. But when you do your inferencing, the most basic one is the autoregressive integrated moving average for univariate time series because it would give you somehow an idea of the forecastability or being able to forecast the time series, which is a longer period of time. But then, do you think that long time series always uses ARIMA? Not all the time. It always depends on the property of the time series. When you are using stock market data or financial data that is considered to be volatile in nature, which is the kantay kung ano agad makita. So, volatile kayo na siya. That means that you might want to use other models apart from ARIMA, which is enumerated kanina, or you could actually make use of ARIMA but be careful in the explanation. So you need to contextualize your data set, whether or not it exhibits autoregressive terms or moving average terms. You need to check whether your data has to be differenced or stabilized for you to actually accurately do your prediction. So ang pinakaunang step talaga is to plot your time series. That way, you will determine the behavior of your data set, whether it's stable or not. So afterwards, again, don't forget to establish the unit root. Kung significant ba siya or not significant. At level, that means, kumintag at level, that means, pa lang naman siya i-difference sa iyang raw good na form, significant naman ang p-value sa imong tao. with constant or with constant and trend. So there is no need for you, or the series tells you that you don't need to stabilize me because I am stable already. So if in case you're stable already, you can do the modeling. But before that, of course, you need to establish what specific lags of your data would be the appropriate value of your P or Q, because that's where you want to establish the autoregressive term and the moving average term using the ACF value and the PACF value for your data set. As you can see here, nag-decay siya at lag 1 for ACF and PACF. So I would suspect that since no differencing, the value of your D is equals to 0, the value of your P is equal to 1, and the value of your Q is equal to 1. That means that my suspicion would this first, would this be. But we found out that upon simulation, this was not the best model in the room. There are specific other models that perform better than ARIMA 101. Ang best for two criteria is 011, and the other one that best perform is ARIMA 111. That only means that the ARIMA model for the volume is moving average alone, autoregressive alone, but if you combine them, you need to difference them once, and it's a moving average term rather than an autoregressive. Something like that. So this particular table of kanaganing values that we have here is usually reported in your article. So mag-arima mo, dapat na amoy ani nga simulation. So si Ma'am Joanne nga nag-forecasting gamit og arima, mag-expect kung nga kay ani nga table. So ikuan-kuan lang nimo, switch lang nimo ang mga values, arima 10, arima something like that, para na lang kay point of comparison. Ginawa mo ba ito, Jonathan, sa paper mo? Hindi mo siya ginawa?
Yes, Doc, pero wala na akong gapil ang HQC. I will run everything again.
Pwede naman SIC.
Do the HQC.
Actually, ang pinaka-common is itong dalawa lang. Pwede ito, wala na. Itong dalawa is...
tapos gapil na akong MST, Doc.
Okay, so if in case meron kang mean squared error, the MAPE, and the MAD, pwede mo yung include. So no worries about it.
Then, merong seasonality, Doc.
Sa imuha. Do you think that, ano yun, energy consumption man yung sa'yo, no?
Yes, Doc.
So that means, may seasonality ba talaga ang energy consumption sa Philippines?
Yes, Doc, especially in the periods of summer and December.
Correct, because anong mga panahon na sa summer, kung gamay ra na sa kuryente, nataas kaayo ang water consumption. So, ano kung mayroon nun? Kaya nag-acid ang kayo nun, kana, supply and demand maguna siya. Atong available na mga renewable energy is gamay ra ayang i-generate, pero mo fluctuate, mo increase ko ang demand because init kaayo. So of course, seasonal good siya. Tama na yung finding na excited with your paper as well, kaya nagamit mo kong arima. Si Ma'am Joanne, nagamit ko siya og arima, uban is murag na ganahan kayo ko kay nagamit sila og machine learning, nag-simulation sila, naiuban nga naabot og pag 90% ang ilang accuracy. That's very, very exciting. So, excited to receive your paper a day before the deadline of the grades, because diha nato makoy kung ma-ready na ninyo inyong mga paper, diha lang ko taman ha, pero ako do ang graduhan, isa ka adlaw na siya graduhan, no, kay basahon magud ko na isa-isa. So please, as much as possible, if you can submit earlier than that, than the deadline, I would really appreciate it. Kung mag-submit na mo on the day of the deadline, good. Ayan, sige pa kasi. Kasi lang, compliant lang man ninyo. So, kana lang kay Kuan. I know that you are also working with your other paper, and for sure, majority of you really found the lesson now very draining and exhausting in terms of the concepts. Am I right? Anang, is this something that you would that you normally encounter in the PhD class? No, ganinang, I don't know if you're aware na ang PhD sa USEP naa siya'y organizational studies. Dati magod sa obrero, PhD in DevAd, PhD in OS, PhD in DRA. So usually magtapok ni sa mga stat na subject na ito, parehas sa mga stat na subject no. So mag-expect yung ka ang mga taga-OS, pag mag-discuss na ni Arima, kanang mag-estimation pag ina maghang gud sila. Kasi na ilang pang mention ana. Kanang alien, tama ang term, the terms are so alien, but when you contextualize it on an application level or an application scenario, ma-appreciate ko mo siya nga, ay mauday ni siya pag-ansa. Why am I throwing technical jargons to you? Because this is data. Anyone can be a data scientist. And we start from somewhere. May student pa ako dito na nagsabi na, alam mo sir, elementary level ang itong statistics to be honest. But when you explain the ARIMA in your recordings, so nagtahatag ko siya ang ARIMA recordings, masundan ba gid nako siya, as in makita ko nako ang stairs, masakitan ba nako siya. Then again, to be honest, when I do my classes, I do not really prepare. Usually, kung isa ang lesson, na lang ako ang ma-discuss based on prior knowledge na lang. Pero, you know, not perfect as well. So, of course, I would really need your complementary knowledge in the discussion. But I do hope that despite the alien language that we were discussing sa machine learning o sa predictive analytics, it was able to unlock you or to give you a little bit of challenge in the PhD program na meron pala talagang value in interpreting numbers. There are also value added circumstances ang pag-crunch nimo og numbers and interpret it in an actual decision making. You might not appreciate the technicality of ARIMA, the technicality of the LDK, G48, random forest, random tree, because those are tools to begin with. But once you translate that into decision making, or once you already know, you are comfortable already with these terms and with these technicalities, and your software manipulation skills have improved, it would not be shuddering para sa part ninyo na mag-data analysis na kayo lang sa dissertation ninyo. Because you are already comfortable with the assumptions. Kung pangutan-on mo dira ni Dr. Curada or ni Dr. Magalyon sa inyong defense, something like that, if in case panel ninyo siya, at least kibalo na mo, and you can attribute that from this particular subject. Hindi pala talaga not everyone can learn statistics even if we are on the basic level. Data science is not for statisticians only, but for everyone who values the importance of data in meaningful decision making. And I could use it in my work because it would improve the value of my output. Can we ask for the recording of ARIMA also, Doc? Ay, may problema. Sa nakapagdali lang. Na ako yung previous lecture on ARIMA, nagklase ng MS Economics sa una. Ito mga panahon na pandemic ko siya. Kanang, syempre, bright pa kayo ko atong ARIMA. Karon medyo na tayo-antayan ang ko. Nakalimot pa ko sa mga ibang na procedure, ibang na mga steps. Kato kay, edit ko Ma'am Joanne, mas na-appreciate man to ni mo Ma'am kay kung ano din kaayo sa nito.
Dagdag to explanation, Doc, na kay kung inisang kauban na
actually, ito ako ang classmate sa DRA, si Dr. Gono to siya. Katumangong teacher si Dr. Gono sa Econometrics, nag-eskwela manggog ko og MS Economics ato sa karon sa UM. So, siya ang nako na teacher na classmate ba niya. Katawanan kaayo kay nagtudlo siya usa ka subject ug usa ka lesson nga ako ang nagtudlo sa iya katong nag-eskwela pa ng PhD. So, doktor, siya ang teacher, estudyante ko niya at iya kong gipa-record sa ARIMA. So, katong i-forward na ko nga recorded video na sa YouTube. Nagbinisaya ko ana para masabtan gid ninyo. Very tinamban na gud kayo ng explanation sa inyong kuan. So, I would appreciate if in case you'd go over with that recording so that you can practice. And then, try to find lunch na dito, nag-build up na akong essays. Try to find ways to do the data analysis niya. Sa weka kasi, pwede ka mag time series, pero medyo technical jargon ang iyang ihatag sa imuha no dili gid pareha ning kang gretl na mohatag gid siya sa imuha og kuan gyud kana kaning comprehensive good na output, graph and chart. So try to explore that in your dissertation or kahit sa iyong publication. Okay. Siyempre, I'm not so sure if this is your first time that you are being required to do a publication, a journal article for publication. So I'm not so sure if this will be considered, if this can be considered as your publication equivalent for your PhD. You might want to inquire with it once this gets published. But if in case it's not, at least that you have already done something. Because a hallmark of a PhD candidate is his or her ability to share his findings or her findings to the world. So, kung PhD graduate kang Yusef, wala kay publication, ma-question ako ang imong capability as a PhD candidate. So, ganing, I mean, if in case you are a PhD student of Yusef, taas kaayo ang expectation sa tanan mga nagdoktoral sa tibuok Davao Region. Ngayon gina sila nga, asa ka nagdoktoral, sir? Ay, sa Yusef po. Ay, Yusef, wow! Sir, asa ka nagdoktoral? Dili sa Kwan Eskwelahan. Dili sa kanang aning eskwelahan. Okay. Pero kung yung Yusef, wow, dyan na ilang istorya mo ka na, ay, kuan. I don't know if you encounter that. Encounter ba na ninyong nagipangutana mo kung asa mo nag-doctoral tapos ilang reaction kay, wow, or, uy, kuyawa, uy, something like that. Because they were really expecting that you're capable of doing it. Particularly the quantitative aspect. I'm not sure kung gipangutana ba mo ano. Unya, pagpakabalo nila nga Yusef, kanang mingon, uy, power kayo na, dira, kanang di gina basta-basta, dira, kanang di ka graduate. Tinuod, mong good class, di ka itong nag-start sa among klase, 48 ni kabuo, ang nakakompre ato originally is, unumra. Unya, lahi-lahi pag yun year nag-graduate. Ang duka na, ang isa nag-graduate in 2018, ang upat nag-graduate in 2019. Ako nabilin, graduate ko 2020, kasi pandemic. Hindi ko kapasok sa Yusef. Ayang kayo. Wala ko nakapasok yun. Katong virtual graduation ba yun? Wagod siya ilang. But, you know, things have changed, circumstances have been different. So, makapasok na gid mo anak sa CBM. Unya, di gid pwede nga wa ko anak ng graduation. Kaya kanang mga na-under bin ako ng estudyante mo, ang to gid as graduation. Okay. Kuan ba yan na, it's an honor and a pleasure to witness you really finish it. And I am happy that despite the demands and the burdens of doing the PhD work, you appreciated You appreciated doing the journal article. Paghatag na lang gid ko ang amount of understanding and patience in your article. I'm not expecting any perfect work. Okay? But at least you can produce an article na for me, the best of your efforts. Because don't worry, I will be editing it before we publish it. Okay, we will be editing it para kung ano yung feeling po ka lang, para at least makaingon ka na ka ng di maulawan imong level. So, edit na lang na, sir, okay, para mawawan ang akong beauty. So, ay problema na, no, edit na ko na before we publish it. And as I've mentioned, I would fund for everything. I would fund for the publication. You would be the lead author and you would be carrying the name of Yusef in the Bible. Okay? So, any questions? Any key takeaways? Any sort of kuan before we end our semester?
No, mangutan. Pwede mangutan. Dok, ano na, Dok, ang dump na trend? Dump trend.
Ano yung, saan mo yung nakuha na term, ma'am?
Sa model type sa Dok.
Model, saan? Sa
SPSS.
Ay, wala man ito naggamit ng SPSS na.
No, basta lang.
Kuan man, asa man nagdapitang kuan at kanang analysis.
Dok. Expert modeler.
Kana siya na ay arima modeling sa SPSS pero it would give you incomplete details. Not as comprehensive as this one. May nag-raise din sa akin, nag-gumamit siya ng IBM SPSS, kanang expert modeler. Din-discourage ko siya kasi unang-una, hindi siya part ng ating course requirement. So you need to run your analysis only in Weka and in gretl as part of my requirement. But if in case you could explore the SPSS na module, that's for you that's for you to explore. But I would expect that no one will be using SPSS for that course.
Okay.
Okay, sige. So if in case, no worries po. Try to review the recordings, try to run the data set again. I have given you. Try to work with your paper kung meron kayo. I don't know if in case my DRA is no forecasting na subject. May forecasting na kayo na subject no under kay Kuan? Under kay Sir Joe Teddy Bugarin.
Opo, Doc.
The
Si Joe Teddy Bugarin is my classmate. Sa classmate ko na siya sa forecasting na subject. No? Pinakahawd ko na siya sa among klase. Forecasting. Kay, ang iya ba yung background is agri-economics. From siya, BS Agri-Economics, USEP, MS Agri-Economics, USM, and then PhD DRA, USEP. Ang iyang expertise good is productivity analysis, kanang data envelopment analysis. Ano ang iyang I mean, kung DRA ka sa USEP, daghan kayo ng mga tools itang tudlo sa imuha ka ng mga discrete choice models, ka ng mga impact assessment, qualitative data analysis, ka ng mga ina-ana. Mas kaging daghanan, murag the sky is the limit mo. Ano, manggawas din ba yan sa compre? Kung DRA mo, o niya, mag-compre mo in the future, part kasi sa mga foundation subject is predictive analytics and machine learning. Na ay isa ka question anak nga gikan sa ako ang adikod na ko pwede i-reveal sa inyo. So tanan natong discussion sa predictive analytics and machine learning, daghan kaayo na din. I-review ra gid ninyo ang recordings dito ninyo makita ang explanation. What if nga maghatag ko sa inyo og equation? So what if magpa-assume ko sa inyo, assume the value nga in something like that, unsa ang specific predicted value? Like that. Or unsa ang inyong gamit, unsa ang pasabot sa confidence intervals in prediction. I mean, you need to rationalize it in the context of the question. So naakoy isa ka question na i-contribute sa inyong compre. So tulugin mo ka batch. Tanan nga new curriculum na ako'y isa ko sa comprehensive examine kanang contributor but not necessarily the examiner. Okay? Part man daw siya sa foundation nga course ang predictive analytics. Papunta kabalo na i-appeal ko sa next batch of kanang oral comprehensive examination para mga makapasar sa written, appeal ko sa pangutana. So, ang ako lang yung ma-advise sa inyo is magbalon lang gud mo haskang daghan, magbalon gid mo authors, magbalon mo og concepts, magbalon mo og kanaganing memorize sa ninyo inyong dissertation proposal, or kung wala pa may dissertation proposal na approve, at least think of a concept na kanaganing think of an inconvenience, think of